There's a cafe in Oslo. It's 1942. Outside, German soldiers patrol the main street, Karl Johans Gate. Inside, a pianist is playing something he shouldn't be. It isn't loud. It isn't defiant in any obvious way. But every person in that room knows exactly what it means. Because the song he's playing, a jazz standard, American, syncopated, alive, has been banned. And they're all listening anyway. On the 9th of April 1940, Germany invaded Norway. Within hours, Oslo had fallen. Within days, the country was under occupation, a reality that would last 5 years, until May 8th, 1945. The Nazis moved quickly on culture. They understood what most occupying forces understand, that music is not decoration. It is identity. It is morale. It is resistance, waiting to happen. Norwegian radio was seized and repurposed as a propaganda tool. Certain composers were banned, particularly Jewish musicians, whose records were destroyed or confiscated. Jazz, with its African-American roots and its improvisational defiance of order, was viewed with particular suspicion. The word they used was entartete Musik, degenerate music. But here's the thing about degenerate music. It doesn't stay quiet. The enforcement of cultural bans under occupation was never perfectly consistent. There were contradictions, moments where jazz crept through, where certain venues operated in grey zones, where Norwegian musicians found ways to play, to record, to perform, under names or in forms that didn't immediately draw attention. The National Samling, the Norwegian collaborationist party under Vidkun Quisling, pushed for ideological purity in culture. But the practical mechanics of a 5-year occupation meant that enforcement had gaps. And Norwegians, like people everywhere, filled those gaps with music. Some musicians emigrated to Sweden, which remained neutral, where Oslo's jazz scene briefly transplanted itself to Stockholm and Gothenburg. Others stayed and navigated carefully. A few collaborated. Most simply endured, playing what they could, when they could, for whoever would listen. There's a particular quality to music that is forbidden. It becomes more than sound. It becomes proof of something. That you still exist, that they haven't taken everything, that something in you refuses the shape they want you to take. I want to tell you about one specific moment, though it stands in for thousands of others. In the early years of the occupation, the Germans actually permitted some music venues to continue operating. They understood that a city with no entertainment becomes restless in ways that were hard to manage. But the genre lines were policed. Norwegian folk music, acceptable. Classical, permissible. Jazz, swing, anything with Black American origins, increasingly suspect, then forbidden. What happened in response is something that occurred across occupied Europe, from Paris to Oslo to Amsterdam. Musicians began to disguise. Jazz rhythms hidden inside arrangements that looked, on paper, like light entertainment. Swing tempos dressed in the clothing of folk melody. The form said one thing, the feeling said another. If you knew, you knew. And in that knowing, in that shared secret between a musician and an audience, was something the occupation could never fully reach. Because they could ban a song. They couldn't ban the understanding between two people, that the song meant something else entirely. Music under occupation teaches us something about why music exists at all. In normal times, it's easy to think of a song as entertainment, something to fill a room, to pass an evening, to soundtrack a feeling you already have. But strip everything away, put people under pressure, take away their freedom, their safety, their sense of future, and watch what happens to music. It becomes essential, irreducible, the one thing that can hold the shape of who you are when everything else is being reshaped around you. The jazz musician in that Oslo cafe in 1942 wasn't just playing notes. He was saying, "I remember what I was before this, and I am still that person." That's not a small thing. That might be everything. The occupation ended in May 1945. The musicians came back, the records returned, the jazz clubs opened. But the songs that were played quietly, in back rooms and borrowed cafes during those 5 years, those songs meant something different from any song played in freedom. They had been tested, and they held. This is the song behind the story, where music isn't the background, it's the point.